This is the Beyond Average Podcast, Episode 3.
The one thing we have in this world is we can't control the events, but we can choose what to focus on, we can choose what things mean, and we can choose what to do.
And we're live.
Hey, good afternoon. My name is Corey.
I am Anthony.
And this is episode 3 of Beyond Average, the podcast that is bringing you a beyond average way of thinking and doing things thinking about health, wealth, and entrepreneurship.
Yeah, so today's episode is about goals. What the heck is a goal, Corey?
A goal is your roadmap of life. And it's such a necessity, and I don't understand how people go through life without goals. I mean, little ones, big, I don't care who you are. Like, what are you living life for? You need to find yourself a purpose and a goal.
And we plan on doing episodes in the future about real estate or about certain other financial instruments, and none of that really matters if you don't have any goals. So we figured this was a good episode to do early on.
Yeah. It'd be, exactly early on. First episode is introduction. Second one is Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which if you haven't listened to those two, go back and check them out. Yeah, well, that's all we'll say.
Because we work really hard to make them, that's why.
Yeah. And the third one is goals, because that's another essential, I think. Well, for the show, we had goals, and for life, I don't know. It's just goals are so important. I don't know how else I can say it, really.
And we'll give you some different perspective than anything your teacher probably ever told you about goals. Kind of our 2 cents on the issue. But, can you believe episode 3 already?
Episode 3 already. And
we've had some pretty good feedback.
We have. Yeah, we have. And we got some listeners already, which is pretty awesome. Thank you guys for listening. We appreciate it. And hopefully we'll keep bringing you good episodes. Well, we will keep bringing good episodes. Hopefully you'll listen to them.
And I don't know if it's just because a lot of our friends are listening. They gave us some good feedback, or they're just being nice. But I think we actually put out some good content, and people are excited to hear some of the things we're going to talk about. Yeah,
we got some good amount of followers on Twitter. Keep growing that. And same thing on Facebook. I got quite a few likes now.
Speaking of which, go to beyondaveragepodcast.com so you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Stitcher, and YouTube. And please follow us on Twitter. Tweet BAP is our handle. And on Facebook, it's facebook.com/beyondaveragepodcast.
Right. So, yeah, if you haven't done that yet, go ahead and go do that. It's funny enough, actually, speaking of about being beyond average, went out to lunch today before we did the show.
Oh, man, that was brutal.
Yeah, and we had well below beyond average service from our waitress. Older woman. I'm sure she was a great woman, probably really nice, but she was a terrible waitress.
And we were saying that she probably works just as hard as the server who does a really great job. And it's just like she didn't do the little things that made her, like, it didn't look like she cared.
No, there's just she had no goals. That's the problem. And
she didn't have no goals.
No. And funny enough, we passed up a diner. I probably had really good food. But we passed it up because it was a little dingy looking diner. Broken parking lot. There wasn't no parking lot. There was no lines. There was a bunch of cars parked on rocks. And we said, we're not going to eat here. We went to the nice big shiny one. And our omelet didn't come with potatoes.
Yeah, who gets an omelet without hash browns? Who serves an omelet like that?
Oh, we got a soggy piece of toast and a tomato. I'd never seen a tomato like that in my life.
Yeah, that's not why you go to a diner. You go to a diner for a nice big omelet and a plate of hash browns. But
and then I asked for ketchup instead of giving me a bottle of ketchup, a
little souffle cup, but a half an ounce of ketchup.
And then I got jelly, and then I didn't get no packet of Welch's. I got another souffle cup of jelly, and it was like jelly donut filling, but they made it look real fancy.
They had some guy in the back crushing grapes for you. That's how fancy they were trying to be.
It's a diner, man. But yeah, so next week, for a little off, we apologize. It's because we had a rough diner experience. But next week, we're going to go to the little diner. So I have confidence in that one now.
That might be the rule in Mercer County. Go to the shittiest little hole-in-the-wall diner you can find. You get better food.
Because they're not wasting their money, as you said. They're not wasting their money on the parking lot and the nice things. They're putting all their money in the omelet fund.
So, they had goals. They wanted to make the best omelet in New Jersey, and maybe they did. We'll have to test it out next week. But so anyway, getting into it, the first thing we wanted to talk about is why would you even have goals? What's so wrong with just working really hard and going out there and doing the best you can and kind of seeing where it takes you.
What's wrong with it is it's like me trying to get to Sacramento, California and not having a map. Like, how am I going to get there? I got no plan in place. I got no way to, nothing pointing me in the right direction. That's really it. I mean, goals are such an essential part of life. And I think time is our biggest asset. It's not money. It's not real estate. It's not time. We all, whether it's the multi-$100 million CEO or Joe working at McDonald's, we all have the same amount of time. And that's what you do with it. That's important. And if you have no goals, managing that time, then what are you doing?
And speaking of time, I mean, if you wanted to drive to Sacramento, like you said, of all cities, I don't know why you picked Sacramento.
That just popped in my head.
But anyway, but if you're driving there blind and you don't have any type of goal, or in your example, don't have a roadmap, you're basically doing things as inefficiently as possible.
Yeah.
And if all we have is time, the last thing you want to do is be inefficient.
Right.
Another thing too is, we talk about having, big goals and big dreams, and that can be intimidating if you have no plan of action. If you just say, I want to go from here to, multimillionaire, it just doesn't even seem realistic or possible. It almost seems, it's intimidating, like we said, until you have a goal and then you actually have a plan in front of yourself and you could see, okay, I'm going to do this, this, and this, and that's how I'm going to get there.
Yeah, and it's almost like an avalanche. It's like an avalanche is a bad example. Think about rolling a boulder. I mean, the first couple pushes are kind of tough, but like once you get a couple goals accomplished and you get a couple is moving a little bit, like it really starts to take off and like you start seeing what you can really do. My thing was actually, it sounds so stupid, but I realized how much power I had. I was always like a C student, and I went through high school like that.
C student, if you're being generous.
Yeah. Yeah, I went through high school like that. I probably shouldn't have got C's. And yeah, I went through a county college like that. And then I decided I wanted to go to a 4-year college. Well, it was kind of decided for me, but I went anyway. And I had like a 2.8 something GPA at, OCC, and you needed 3.0 to get in. And then that last semester, I got straight A's because I made a decision to do it. I set my goals and I made a decision I'm going to get A's to get a 3.0, and I ended up getting like a 3.1. I got in. And there was A's and B's all through the 4-year college. And it's not because I got any smarter. It's just, I don't know. I set a goal, and that's just the power that people have more power than they think. That's the point of it.
And you said it. I mean, it's not like you decided I want to be a C student and then now I want to be a B- student. No, you blew the other grades out of the water and you got A's.
Yeah.
Most people are thinking too small, and we'll get into that, but it's not about becoming incrementally better. It's about blowing the doors down and just kicking ass, doing way better than you did last year or last month or last week.
Right. You shouldn't go into next year thinking, well, I want to make a little bit more money this year. And I probably did this in the past, where I just want to be a little better than last year. Blow the doors off. Like, you
hear it all the time. If I could just get a 3% raise this year, now that would be great. I mean, that's nothing. I mean, that's just, it's a silly way of thinking. I mean, you're kind of just stuck in neutral doing that. If you think like that, your goal should be to double your salary. And it sounds hard. And if you can't do it at your current job, well, either A, find a new job, or B, you can't find a new job, find something on the side. I mean, you got to get creative. That's the thing. You need to set a goal and stick to it and get creative. I mean, 3% raise shouldn't be, I guess that's some people's goal, but that's the point of the show, is it shouldn't be if, you really want to prosper. Well, that leads us into the next thing we wanted to talk about is what are bad goals? Because when you hear New Year's resolutions, I think those are all examples of really bad goals. First of all, the fact that you have to wait to New Year's to make a goal is probably the first problem.
Right.
You need to, we'll get into to the framework around making good goals, but like, what are some examples of bad goals?
A bad goal, this is one I hear a lot, and it's always, this is a specific example when someone says, I'm going to go on a diet to lose X amount of weight, right? And that's the head of goal. You got to think broader than that. It shouldn't be, I'm going to go on a diet to do something. Your goal should be, I'm going to change my diet and make a lifestyle change to be this better, physically fit person. And you don't have to be some bodybuilder or be ripped. But say you're 40 something years old, you just want to lose some weight and get healthy. Yeah. Your goal, because what's going to happen at the end of that goal, that your quote unquote, that small goal of that diet, you're going to pull the weight back on because you accomplished your goal of 20 pounds, but you didn't make no lifestyle change. It's like someone consolidating all their debt. Is a good example. Like, this is a little off topic, but you consolidate all your debt, but you still got the same spending habits. What's going to happen with your clean debt? Have your clean credit? You're going to go back in debt. I mean, it has to be a lifestyle change to really get to your goal.
And that really touches on what I think is the problem with most goals, is that they're too small-minded.
Right.
You know, don't just think to lose 10 pounds. Think about making the lifestyle change.
To keep that weight off and keep going.
Right. Don't just think about how I can make 3% extra a year. Think about how you can make, 3,000 extra a month. You know what I mean?
If you can't do it at your current job, you need to start thinking about ways you can.
Right. Whether it's other multiple streams of income, different business, a new business, real estate, whatever it is. But most of these goals are too small. I mean, people say, other goals don't have the characteristics that we're going to talk about. You hear SMART as an acronym for goals, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time bound. And we'll talk on each one a little bit later, but most bad goals are lacking in one of those areas.
Right.
I want to lose weight. Well, what does that mean? When? Right. You want to lose 1 pound within the next year? Because we don't know what you're talking about.
I say you take a dump, you lose that. I mean, it's really, it's just not a goal. I hear a goal that I want to be happy. Well, what makes you happy? I don't understand. Like, what's happy to you? I mean, is happy waking up on a beach every morning? Is happy living in the city? I mean, you can't just say I want to be happy. You need goals. You need what's gonna make you happy. Yeah. And
like we just said, as far as SMART goals go, that's not measurable. There's no way to quantify that and to see if you're actually making progress, because one of the things we'll talk about is if you're not making incremental steps towards the goal, if you can't measure it, what good is it? You know what I mean? Right. You never know where you are in the process.
And what about being rich? There's another one. Same thing as I want to
be rich. Well, what the hell does that mean? I mean,
what's rich to you?
In my head, my definition of rich is probably different than yours. To me, it means that if you stopped working and you made more money than you spent,
the same one
every month. Well, it's because that's a Kiyosaki version of rich, which is the book we talked about last week, Rich Dad Poor Dad. But if you were to stop working and your income is still more than your expenses, in my opinion, you're rich. But somebody else might consider rich to have a net worth of more than $1 million. So to say I want to be rich, what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything.
Right. And to go even smaller, someone's point of rich. I mean, your idea of rich might only cost you $100,000 a year. I mean, it sounds like a lot, but some people think like they need millions of dollars to take these lavish vacations. No, there's a lot of resources out there where you can take vacations for very cheap. Airbnb.com. You can really shop for flow. I mean, there's just things are a lot cheaper than you really think. If you take the time to write the goals out, you measure them, you see what you can do to attain them, you'd be very surprised at how attainable they are.
Right. So if someone says, within the next 3 years, I want to start going on 4 vacations per year, to the average person, that sounds ridiculous. But when you start thinking like we think, it's not about can I do it, it's how can I do it,
Exactly. And if you sit there and measure it and you see how much it really costs, like you got all right, where do you want to go? How much is each one going to cost? How are you going to, it's all about taking those steps to really do the schematics of that goal. And
right. So just to say that I want to travel more is not a good goal. So I mean that's really what we're kind of getting at it for bad goals. I mean, if you could say your goal in like 5 words or less, it's probably a bad goal because it's not specific enough, it's not measurable, and most likely it's probably too small.
Right.
Would you say that's the number one problem? Most people do not think big enough.
Yeah, and the problem with that is they think if they think too big that they're not going to hit that goal and they're going to you heard that too much. Well, don't make your goals too big. They should be attainable. Yeah. They should be reasonable. No, fuck reasonable. What's reasonable? Like, what's reasonable? The iPhone didn't get made from being reasonable.
Why would you want to do anything reasonable? And that's what you're taught in school, and it's unfortunate, but because everybody wants to be coddled these days, and you can do it, Junior. You can.
Everyone gets a trophy.
No, you got to just, like I said before, kick the doors down and just blow it up. Whatever you're doing, I mean, just kill it. Whatever you have going on, you got to do it to the nth degree.
And that's the difference between successful people and I guess they can say the unsuccessful or ones that don't hit their goals is they just do it. They set that big goal and they go for it, and they don't let no one tell them they can't do it, and they don't stop until they get there.
We knew we would do this sooner or later, but we're going to link in the show notes to the Art Williams video.
Yeah.
Called Just Do It.
Just do it.
Just do it. He goes, you know what? I'm not even going to tell you about the video. You just got to watch it. And after you're done watching it, you're going to feel like you can run through a brick wall.
Yeah, you know, how many times you say you listen to that?
Every time I want some motivation, probably once a week I watch it.
Do you?
It's like 6-7 minutes long.
Yeah, I probably watch a little less, but same thing. Every once in a while, I'll just Google it just to let's just do it. That's all you keep saying. You got to watch it. That's just good stuff.
So that's a little bit about what goals you shouldn't have and what bad goals are. But so let's get into the meat and potatoes of this thing. How do we set good goals? What's that all about? How's that work?
Well, we're going to talk about get your acronym from before, which we'll interchange, kind of one of the words, but it's specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound.
Right, SMART, SMART goals. You want to have SMART goals, but our version of the SMART goals are a little bit different than what you're probably taught in school, because what you're taught in school is a little bit limiting, kind of puts you in a box and kind of constrains your way of thinking instead of making you think big,
Right.
And the first thing we should say is, and you mentioned this to me before we recorded, is that make sure your goals are your goals, right? I mean, don't be doing someone else's goals.
Like they say your goal is to climb that corporate ladder and get that, that big job, be the district manager. Is that really your goal? Yeah. Or is that a goal that society gave you? What's your goal? Your goal might not even be in the industry you're in. You
might love working on cars and want to work on hot rods or something. Then do that, man. I mean, to have somebody else's goal, whether it's your parents' goal, society's goal, the government's goal, I mean, you're never going to achieve it, first of all, and even if you do achieve it, you won't be happy, but you're probably not going to achieve it because you don't want to be doing it.
Right. And that's the key ingredient for success is being passionate about what you do. For great success. I mean, you might be successful in your job or be successful in I shouldn't bring family into it because you should always be successful at that. But like I said, with the job thing,
you know how they say if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. Well, that's bullshit. You're going to work your ass off, but you're going to love your work, which is the important thing.
It's not going to feel so much like work, and at the end of the day, it's going to be much more gratifying because it's something that you really believe in and something you truly love.
Yeah. So let's talk about SMART. So what's the first one there? S is for specific.
Right. And that's setting specific goals. This is something I learned. Actually, we'll bring one of our goals into this is buying a duplex, right? It's specific. It's not, I just want to own some real estate. I want to own some units. Well, let's simplify it. Let's get it very specific. How many units do you want? How much can you afford? Well, we afford 2. I want 2 units. What area do you want? And you picked it. You got to be really specific on the goal you want to achieve. And that goes for that's the immediate small goals that's your 6 months goals, but now you got to look at the big broad 10-year goals. Well, what's the goal? 10,000 units.
Yeah, I mean, my personal goal is in 15 years I want to own 10,000 apartment units.
It's a great goal. And then what are you doing today to do that? I mean, you got a specific plan that to get there.
Exactly. Right? So you have to have some sort of roadmap to work towards it, but you can't work towards it if you don't have a laser focus on what exactly it is you want. To just say, I want to own apartments. Well, that's not that hard. I can kind of get there next year. What does that mean?
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's specific, which probably means there's going to be a number,
Oh, there has to be a number. You got to get a notepad and pen out and you have to write it down. What were you going to say? I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, that leads into the next part of the acronym, which is M for measurable.
Right.
It's got to have a number because A, it's got to be specific, but B, it's got to be measurable. You have to be able to quantify it.
Right.
So you can't say I want to make a lot of money.
And being measurable also makes it real. Because when you can write it down and see it on paper, you look at it like, wow, I make this much a month. If I can make a little more, I can it becomes real to you. It's very doable and it becomes real and achievable.
Yeah.
And that's the key. That's a key for measuring as well. Which actually rule, I mean, anything else to say on measurable?
No, I mean, you got to be able to measure yourself. And if it's vague, it's probably, I mean, the first two are really interchangeable because if it's not specific, it's not measurable and vice versa. So.
And then that kind of rolls into the next one of when I said attainable / achievable.
But this is the one that we're going to probably disagree with, the way the school system will teach you this.
Right.
Because I think that a lot of times your teacher is going to tell you, make sure your goal is realistic and attainable. And it's just all bullshit.
Right.
Because most people have no idea what they're capable of. And, we read a book called 10X by Grant Cardone. Corey's got a man crush on Grant. But because what the guy said,
10X it, man.
10X it. So he talks about making your goals 10 times what you think.
Right.
Because That's what we originally said. You know, I want to buy a few apartments, and then eventually I would love to own 1,000 apartments. Why? 10x it, 10,000 units. I don't want to own 1,000. I want to own 10,000. Because if you can own 1,000, and being in the industry, I know this is the case, to go from 1,000 to 10,000 doesn't require any new skills. It just requires doing a little bit more.
Right.
And that's probably the case for most people. I mean, you know, if you're making $50,000 and you want to make $80,000 within a certain amount of time, you know, that's okay, but you should be wanting to make $150,000.
Right. And I agree to an extent as well. It has to be attainable. But the problem is you need to change your perspective on attainable. Attainable, you know, say you want to be rich to be a millionaire and your attainable goal for this year is 80,000. Well, 10x it. Like, you know, like I said, like move your benchmark for attainable has to be higher. You know, you have to believe that, and it sounds kind of corny, believe in yourself, but you do. You have to believe that you can make that. Because if you initially doubt yourself on your goals and then you don't see them as attainable, you're never going to get there. It's never going to come to fruition. It's just not going to, it's not going to happen.
Now, admittedly, 10x doesn't translate necessarily to dollar amounts per se all the time.
Right. Yeah.
What it really is helpful with is like the short-term goals where you're trying to measure, like if you're a salesman and I want to make, 6 calls per day. That's bullshit because a lot of salesmen do stuff like that. You should be making 60 calls a day. You should be an animal on the phone.
Right.
And I've literally changed the way I do business, with that in mind, saying, I don't want to just, okay, instead of 6, maybe I'll make 10 calls today. No, don't do a little more, do a lot more. Just blow it out of the water. Do something that no one else is doing. You don't want competition. You want to own your market. Whatever you're doing, you don't want to be a little better than the other guy. You want the other guy in the dust. You know what I mean?
Dominate the market.
You want to dominate the market. And you're not going to do that by having these little baby goals.
No, you're not.
Unless your goal is to have a baby, which is fine.
And then
I want to have 1 baby by X date. Right? It's got to be measurable, at least, if you're going to do that.
Yeah.
So that's attainable. Anything else you want to add for that one?
No, that's it. Just like I said, it's achievable is bullshit unless your achievable goal is 10 times higher than what you thought it was. If that makes sense.
Yeah. So S is specific and measurable. A is attainable or achievable. R stands for 2 different ones. First one is relevant. I mean, obviously your goals have to relate to you. I mean, you could say I want to solve, world hunger, but unless that's what you're actively doing,
right, that's
not a goal.
Or, for example, like if I want to own 10,000 units in 10 years, going to open an art studio in Florida is not going to bring me to my goal. Exactly. It's got to be relevant to what you want to do.
Honestly, that one is just probably to fill out the word smart. I mean, obviously your goal's got to be relevant, right?
Yeah.
But the other one,
I hope it's obvious.
Yeah. Well, we hope it's obvious. But the other one we wanted to definitely touch on for R can also mean record. And this is so important. You need to write your goals down. And I don't even think writing them on the computer, typing them out is good. I think you actually have to put pen to paper, old school, and write it down. What do you think?
Yeah, there's something special about that. And actually, Grant did write them down every day. I kind of fell off, but at least once a week, I write them out. I also keep a voice journal on my phone just to talk about what happened this week with, in the weight room or with work. What am I doing with property wise? Have I researched anything this week? Just something I can go back and reflect on and listen to it, maybe months from now or a year and say, well, am I still having these problems? Am I still in this situation? Well, then I need to change something. Or if it's in a good situation, then, keep going. But yeah, it has to be, you have to record it. And, what Grant talked about was every day, you write down your goals.
Well, first you say, get a brand new notebook with nothing else in it. And every day, write your goals down. Every day.
Like 3 to 5 goals is fine, but specific, and write it as you're already doing it. I am, I own 10,000 units in South Florida. I am a millionaire and I do this, that, or I don't know what your goal is. Want to own a restaurant. I own a very successful restaurant in this area,
Right. I'm going to open a seafood restaurant in Point Pleasant within the next 3 years.
Exactly.
Something like that. And, write it down every day.
Right. And also record. I think this also talks about record your victories too. Some of the victories that you've had, and how important it is to celebrate those victories, right?
Yeah, because you were mentioning before we started recording that, let's say you're in the gym and you're trying to lift a certain amount of weight, and let's say you're deadlifting, and you're deadlifting 4 plates, 405 pounds, and you want to deadlift 5 plates, 495 pounds. Well, once you get to 460 and you're like, shit, well, I'm almost there, I might as well change my goal to 550. We don't think that's a good idea. Keep your goal and hit it. Doesn't mean you can't blow it away.
Right.
That means your goal was probably too small, but you do need to achieve your goals because that's kind of like a springboard to stay motivated.
Exactly. And whether it's, I mean, it really just said it. And if you want to take it to real estate, it's like, say you want to own 10,000 units someday. Well, after you buy your duplex, you should be doing backflips. You should be excited out of your mind. And that goes back to your goal being happy. Hitting those little goals, it keeps you going, keeps you happy because you're doing something right. Yeah,
or as an example, let's say I want to own 10,000 units and it's only 10 years from now, not 15, and I own 6,000. That doesn't mean you change your goal. We think that you should keep your goal,
right? Hit
your goal, blow it out of the water if you can, and then once you get there, you reassess and make new goals.
And all that means is you need to start working harder towards your goal. Yeah. That's really it. And then that's really it with the R, right?
Yeah, I think so. And then for the last one, T and SMART is for time bound. You want to start on that one?
Yeah, give yourself a timeline. That's just as important as writing it down and crunching the numbers is when you're going to do it by. And you have to stick to that too. Give yourself a timeline. Say, I want to do this in 6 months and put the pressure on yourself to actually get it done. I don't know. I just think you got to, this is something I haven't done a long time ago that I wasn't like this. And then just over time, I realized how far my goals are. And that just kind of made me hungry to wake up with a sense of urgency to get it done. And that's really it.
What it does is it holds yourself accountable to yourself.
Right. Yeah.
So you're measuring yourself against something finite. And, I think that helps you achieve your goal when you know that you don't have some open-ended timeline to do this stuff. You know what I mean?
Because then it'll just go on forever and you'll never get it done.
And you're always going to have an excuse in your head of why you didn't get it done this year, why you'll do it next year or the year after. And that's all bullshit. You know what I mean? When you first set a goal and you picked a date for it to be done, you picked that date for a reason because you know that it's possible.
Right. And you have to hit that goal by that date because guess what? You got a new goal coming around the corner and you're going to have a date for that one too. And that's how you keep the ball moving, keep it rolling.
Right.
Hitting those goals. And that's really with the SMART goal system. The idea is just to 10x it. You got your goals and go big. We can't stress that enough.
Yeah, we mentioned that book a few times, 10x. We'll put the link in the show notes. Yeah. So go to beyondaveragepodcast.com/003, which is episode 3, obviously. And we'll have some notes about the show, some summaries of what we talked about, but we'll put a link for the book if you want to check that one out.
Yeah, I wasn't even talking about the book at that point. I just now it's burned in my brain. Just everything you do, 10x.
Yeah, which is the name of the book is 10x. Yeah. So definitely check that one out. But I think, just to wrap up kind of what we talked about, the number one thing if you took out of the show is that your goals probably suck because they're too small.
Right.
You need to expand your way of thinking and think big. Think really big.
And you're going to get resistance. You're going to hit obstacles. Things aren't going to go your way. Life's going to happen. Murphy's Law, Yeah. Everything that can go wrong will go wrong. And to me, I think that's the universe is testing you to make sure you really want it. In my opinion, I think you get those things thrown at you for a reason, and you got to break through those walls, man. You can't, if you set a goal, hit it. Because people say they want to be happy. That's the only way you're really going to be happy. Is find something you're passionate about, make the goals, the roadmap to get there, and start. Do it.
Yeah, I very wholeheartedly believe that most people don't realize how close they are to success when they quit.
Right.
Like most people will, everyone knows somebody who saved up their money, started a restaurant, opened the restaurant. They did all the hard work. But because they didn't have that business plan just right, they ended up closing down. But if they could have weathered the storm for another month or two, they would have had things rolling. And I just feel like that's just so common across all industries with most people. And a lot of it probably has to do with not having clearly defined goals, but you're going to face the obstacles, like you said. You just got to push through it.
Exactly.
And listen, no excuses. I know we talked about that before too. You want to talk about excuses versus externalizing your problems?
Yeah, the idea behind that, it's really kind of a sales trick, but you can apply that to really anything. Someone giving you a hard time, maybe you're a significant other having a bad day. It could be really anything that when something negative comes and impacts your life, you don't want to make an excuse for it where you kind of but you want to defer it a little bit. Like,
Right.
well, for you, for example, you go to meet a building owner and they turn you down. They're real nasty to you. Get out of my building.
I could easily pout my car and say, "Oh, this business sucks. This isn't for me. Why is
Right.
this guy being so mean to me?" And
But
then,
you're not going to do that.
right. I would probably say something like, "Okay, the guy's obviously not in a good mood today, and he didn't want to talk to me because X, Y, and Z.
Right.
So what can I do next time to better address those objections?"
Exactly. And you never want to, there's a fine line. I guess you really have to understand it. You never want to blame yourself to get down on yourself. You change and fix what you can, but anything out of your control, like I said, he's having a bad day. Maybe his dog bit him that morning. It could be anything. And
A dog bite?
a dog bite.
Of all the things that can give you a bad day, I guess a dog bite would be bad.
I got bit by a dog. That didn't really ruin my day. It kind of pissed me off a little bit, but
I got bit by a dog when I was delivering pizzas.
what happened?
It
Did you externalize it?
No, it freaking hurt.
Maybe the dog was having a bad day.
I almost kicked it, but I didn't kick it because it was a little dog, so I felt bad.
No,
But she got me good.
old bastard.
I didn't even get tipped.
No?
No.
Was working over at the pizza place you worked at?
By the way, we'll give a little plug for Attilio's Pizza in Tom's River.
Okay. Yeah,
That-
I won't mention them.
Tom's River, New Jersey. Best pizza around.
But yeah, and everyone always says that, but they do got good pizza.
Yeah, there's nothing I hate more than when someone says that, "Oh, the bagel place by my house, they have the best bagels you've ever had." How the hell would you know if they're the best bagels? Have you tried every bagel store?
Yeah, and it's funny, they also have the best pizza spot in town too.
Yeah.
So when you tell
They
me
always have the
out
best
of all the
pizza.
spots, your town, they picked to put the best pizza spot and the best bagel store.
Now, I'll tell you, Attilio's is the best pizza in the area that I've had. Okay.
Yeah, I got to agree, they're good.
But I ain't saying it's the best pizza ever because I ain't had all the pizza.
No, and they opened up 3Bs in Lakehurst, doing really well,
Yeah.
and very well. They got Sawmill down Seaside, so yeah, good family over there to work for.
We're both former employees, which is why we mention it.
Yeah, they I always had fun working there. Moved on. Pizza delivering wasn't my career, so I kind of had to move on to that. But it's definitely fun.
You want to hear how things come full circle? We used to deliver pizza to a building that we're now selling for multiple millions of dollars.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. I'm not going to mention which building because we're working on a deal, but it's a big one. So
that's how the cookie crumbles.
that's it.
That's how the pizza rolls.
So all right, let's wrap it up. So that's goals. Listen, go out there and make some goals, write them down, and think big.
And if you need more direction on setting goals, you check out. We'll put it in a link below as well. Jim Rohn has a few books out on hitting goals, and there's no one better to help you hit those goals than taking his advice. He definitely is a guru in that light.
Absolutely.
Who else could they check out? Tony Robbins, he has really good books, a couple of them, like Unleash the Power, or I forget the name of the book. I didn't read it, but I plan to.
Yeah, and obviously Grant Cardone, who's who we talked about most of the show with the whole 10X thing. So
there's a lot of resources out there, the point being.
So go to beyondaveragepodcast.com/003. Check out the show notes. We'll have links to all that. Follow us on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, and then follow us on, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, tweet BAP, and on Facebook.com/beyondaveragepodcast. And Corey, what's your Twitter handle?
My Twitter handle is at CJ Anderson 71.
I noticed you throw the @ in there now.
I do. I was corrected.
Yeah, and I am at APALM8, APALM8.
I guess that wraps it up for the show. I could keep going forever, but for the listeners' sake, we'll end the show.
All right. So it sounds good. We'll see everybody next week for episode 4.
All right. Thanks for listening.